And welcome to WKP. This is your Atlantic tropical weather forecast. Today we're going to be taking a look at the tropics that are heating up quite a bit. Also check the description for a gospel message. Anyway, let's get right into this video. So we have three storms right now: Invest 96, L or Disturbance 1, Tropical Depression Grace, and Tropical Storm Fred. Since Tropical Storm Fred is the strongest of these three right now, we're going to start off with him. Fred has maximum sustained winds of 40 knots or 45 mile an hour, a minimum central pressure of 1,000 millibars, and is located at 27.1 north, 85.7 west. Movement north-northwest at 9 knots or 10 miles per hour. So Fred is moving quite slow right now. One thing we need to keep an eye on with Fred is the rainfall totals. We're going to be seeing around 6 to 10 inches where landfall occurs, which is in Apalachicola more than likely as of now. We're also going to be seeing some of these high rainfall amounts up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And the issue with the high rainfall amounts in the Blue Ridge Mountains is that I've seen a trend where these storms move up through those mountains, and there is quite a bit of flash flooding in those areas. So if you do live in the Blue Ridge Mountains and where the landfall for the storm is going to occur, expect some flash flooding to be possible. Let's take a look at the flash flooding potential. As you can see, most of the southern United States are under a 5% marginal chance of flash flooding, and for areas anywhere from Mobile up to Montgomery, up to Nashville, up to Columbus, Pittsburgh, Roanoke, Charlotte, Augusta, Charleston, Tallahassee. We could be seeing these areas all have a 10% slight chance of seeing flash flooding. But since I'm seeing more heavy rain up in these areas, up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, I do believe they probably have a little bit of a higher percent chance of seeing some flash flooding. And near Apalachicola, where we're going to be seeing landfall, there is a 20% moderate chance of flash flooding. So we do need to keep an eye on this storm Fred for the flash flooding potential. Now we're also going to be seeing storm surge with Fred. We're going to be seeing in near Indian Pass and the Stenachie River, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, around 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, which is actually quite high if you think about that. Down to Yankeetown, we have around 2 to 4 feet of storm surge, and Arapeca, around 1 to 3 feet of storm surge, and the Alabama-Florida border, we have around 1 to 3 feet of storm surge. So if you live in these areas, keep an eye out for the storm surge that we're going to be seeing with Fred, because that is something you should definitely keep an eye out on, especially if you are on the direct coast. Now, for wind speed probabilities, yes, we will probably see some tropical storm force winds where Fred is going to make landfall, since Fred is likely going to make landfall as of the latest forecast, around 60 miles per hour on landfall. And depending on how Fred is doing in the Gulf, and since Fred is moving slower, I do believe we may see wind speeds as high as 65 to 70 miles per hour on landfall. I'm going a little off there, but I believe we may see some strengthening of Fred because Fred is in some warm water and moving quite slowly. And if you know what that means, that is a recipe for a stronger tropical storm. Anyway, we're going to be seeing a what looks like 30 to 50% chance, if I am right. Let me zoom out. A 60 to 70% chance of tropical storm force winds in Apalachicola, where we're going to be seeing landfall. A 50 to 60% chance for areas inward near the Alabama border. And for most areas in the Panhandle, anywhere from 30 to maybe 50% chance of tropical storm force winds. North Florida even has a chance of seeing tropical storm force winds, anywhere from 5 to 30% chance. And up as far as the Blue Ridge Mountains, there is a 5 to 10% chance of tropical storm force winds. So we need to keep an eye out on Fred, since there is the potential for some strong weather. Let's take a look at the intensity guidance for Fred. Most have Fred tipping out around 55 knots, which I believe is near 60 or 65 miles per hour, and then making landfall and quickly weakening into a tropical depression. I do believe this is possible, though I do believe that the SHIP model, it may be more accurate with the wind speed since it's keeping it closer to a category 1. So I do think we may see a stronger Fred than expected based on what we are seeing. Let's go back to Grace right now, since Grace is going to cause some issues for Haiti, which was just hit by a massive earthquake, 7.1 magnitude. Okay, so Tropical Depression Grace has maximum sustained winds of 30 knots or 35 miles per hour, a minimum central pressure of 1,011 millibars, located at 17.1 north, 68.1 west, moving west at 13 knots or 15 miles per hour. So Grace is moving a little faster. But we need to go through the key messages for Grace, since Grace will likely also cause flooding like Fred, except the difference with Grace is that Grace could cause some mudslides in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So here are the key messages. Please listen to these because they're pretty important. Heavy rainfall could lead to flash and urban flooding over the Virgin Islands across Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti. Heavy rainfall may lead to flash, urban, and small stream flooding, along with the potential for mudslides. Tropical storm conditions are possible over portions of Hispaniola Monday and Monday night. There is a risk of some wind and rainfall impacts across the Turks and Caicos Islands, the Bahamas, Cuba, and Florida, but forecast uncertainty is much higher than usual. Interest in those areas should monitor the progress of Grace and updates to the forecast. I want to bring you to something very, very important here. The uncertainty of this forecast is much higher than usual. Why is this important? Because we really don't know where Grace is going to be moving. I'll bring you to the official track here. It's predicted that we're going to be seeing Grace move through the Dominican Republic and Haiti, which is actually quite likely as of now, almost certain that's going to happen. Then moving through Cuba, and then once Grace moves out into the Gulf, this is when we get into our question mark area. Some models are predicting Grace to go into the Yucatan Peninsula, while others are bringing Grace straight into Texas. Either way, this will give Grace enough time over warm water to strengthen possibly into a strong tropical storm or a hurricane. Now, yes, I'm being truthful when I say a possibility of a hurricane. I'm going to bring you to the intensity guidance for Grace. As you can see, most models are keeping Grace as a strong tropical storm, nearly Category 1 hurricane, while some models are bringing Grace to to Category 3 strength and a few to Category 1 strength. So we need to keep an eye on Grace, since we could be seeing some strong tropical weather with Grace. Let's take a look at the tracks for this storm, the spaghetti models. The consensus is going through the middle of the Gulf and possibly to Texas, while you see some outliers here bringing it to Florida, and one outlier still bringing it into the Atlantic and up to Charleston. This one, I believe, is the least likely, and as I said, some bringing it right into the Yucatan Peninsula. So we need to keep an eye on this, since we have very, very little certainty of where Grace is going to go. Now we have another storm in the Atlantic, and this one is disturbance number 1, or Invest 96L. So this one could possibly cause some problems for the Bahamas and could also become a hurricane. Here we go. Satellite imagery and radar data from Bermuda indicate that showers and thunderstorms associated with a small but well-defined area of low pressure located northeast of Bermuda have continued to become better organized during the past few hours. If this trend continues, advisories will likely be initiated on a new tropical depression later tonight. The system is forecast to move slowly towards the south or southwest during the next day or so and turn westward on Tuesday, passing near or just east and south of Bermuda. Interest in Bermuda should monitor the progress of the system, and a tropical storm watch could be issued for that island tonight. So formation chance through the next 48 hours, a high of 90%, and a formation chance through the next 5 days, 90%. So it's likely we could be seeing this form tonight and into tomorrow morning. Now, I want to take you to the intensity guidance and tracks for this storm. Let's first look at the tracks. We're going to be seeing this storm likely loop around Bermuda, but some of these models are bringing this storm close enough to Bermuda that we could be seeing some tropical storm weather if this does form fast enough in Bermuda. And once it loops back out into the Atlantic, it won't cause any more trouble. But as it's looping down towards Bermuda, right around here, this is when we need to keep our eyes on it since it could cause some issues for Bermuda. Let's take a look at the intensity guidance. Most of the models are keeping it a strong tropical storm or a weak tropical storm, while quite a few models are bringing it to Category 1 or 2 hurricane strength, and 2 are bringing it to Category 3 and Category 4 hurricane strength. So we definitely need to keep an eye on this storm since it could cause some issues. Let's take a look at the satellite imagery for these storms. So we're going to go to Tropical Storm Fred right now. We're going to let this load. So Fred right now doesn't seem to have very much convection, but isn't looking too choppy or broken up, and we'll likely see Fred become a little more compact and better organized as he moves on to into land. There isn't very low temperature. There isn't a very low inner temperature in Fred right now, but there are some low temperatures in Fred, so we may see some more strength, a little more strengthening out of Fred. Let's move on to Grace, which is a depression right now. Grace is looking a little messy. That's something to expect when Grace is a tropical storm. Grace still has some low inner temperatures in her, so we may see some more strengthening, but I doubt it. What we're going to be seeing with Grace is not very much convection. This storm has very little convection, but once Grace moves into the Gulf of Mexico, we could be seeing some more of that convection as she gets stronger. Now let's move to 96L Invest. This one, on the other hand, look at that. It has nice convection. It doesn't have extremely low inner temperatures, but it's spinning very, very nicely. It looks almost close to a tropical storm from what I am seeing. I've seen tropical storms that look pretty close to this. As you can see, it is getting that nice circulation in it. Some of the clouds being pulled in here and pushed back out there, so some very nice circulation in that, meaning that this is strengthening definitely quite fast. It doesn't have very, very low inner temperatures in it, but those could change, and I do believe this will form very, very soon. So, please be praying for the people who are going to be affected by these storms, since it's likely we're going to be seeing quite a few areas affected by these storms. Fred is likely going to affect the panhandle of Florida. Grace is going to be affecting Dominican Republic, Cuba, Haiti, and possibly even Texas or Mexico. And this Invest 96L could affect the Bahamas. So as you can see, a lot of people could be affected by these storms, so keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Check out the gospel message in the description, and thank you for watching. This has been WKP.